Hi everybody, Duncan here, Chief Executive at We Are Survivors. As you can see on the tally behind me, it's the Home Secretary, the Right Honourable Yvette Cooper, who has just delivered her statement to the House on the recommendations and the findings of Baroness Casey's review into grooming gangs. I was really interested to see what would come out of this and what the Home Secretary would be saying. And whilst it's positive that we are going right underneath, it appears, a subject matter that many of us kind of know what the problems are, but there'll be a inquiry now that will formally identify problems, that will hopefully get to the heart of some of the issues. But as a survivor of child sexual exploitation, one of the things that really bothers me still is the fact that we continue to seem to do this. We continue to seem to have inquiry after inquiry after inquiry, where we make recommendation after recommendation after recommendation. And everybody in the House at the moment is commenting on the ICSA inquiry and the fact that the 20 recommendations of ICSA haven't yet been acted on, and different sides can blame each other. But as survivors, we sit here wondering, well, when are things going to change? I'm not against any inquiries that help us with understanding. We have to understand. If we're going to learn from the past, we have to understand, surely. But there is something unnerving for me about the fact that we just keep seeming to get to the same point, an inquiry. There is certainly some things with this particular inquiry that I think, just listening to the Home Secretary and the Leader of the Opposition and the Liberal Democrats, that maybe we don't know enough about. Maybe we do need to kind of get under the bonnet, so to speak. But all the way through everybody's comment, I heard them talk about girls. I heard them talk about teenage girls. And there is no shadow of a doubt that overwhelmingly that what has been happening is, and this inquiry will show that, is that girls and teenage girls have been the victims overwhelmingly. But here's the thing. There are a considerable amount of boys and teenage boys that have been victims too. The last time we talked about this, in 2016, 2017, here at We Are Survivors, we saw a huge increase in young men contacting us and asking us for support because they weren't seeing themselves. They weren't hearing about what had happened to them. I would really hope, and I was really hopeful, that survivors, all survivors, would at least get identified as groups. So talking about boys and girls and teenage boys and teenage girls, I think it's perfectly fine to recognise that there is a disproportionality to this. Disproportionality in terms of this being a crime that's overwhelmingly been affected young women and young girls, without a shadow of a doubt. However, as the Home Secretary herself mentioned, there is something about a change in landscape and how sexual exploitation is often so linked in with criminal gangs. And we know that boys can so often experience be at the hands of these criminal gangs. And so I would like, and I would ask the Home Secretary and the Safeguarding Minister, I would ask them all in the House today to not forget about people like me, boys and men. In fact, I would ask all of those people to not forget about adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse. I hope that whilst we do everything we can to protect children now, and to do what we can to make sure that children and young people now are not going to experience the harms that we have experienced. But for just once, I would like to hear somebody say, and for those that we have already failed, we are doing something. We are doing something to make sure that there is support available, that organisations that are giving support to adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse and exploitation, I'd just like to hear once, please.